Welcome to the BackPageLead Vidcast, and joined as always by Wayne Carey, the BPL pundit and man with all the insights and answers. How are you, mate?
Good, Charlie.
We're going to talk today about Melbourne and North Melbourne, and we'll talk about staging for freeze and various other things in between. But first of all, the Demons, Mark Neild and Melbourne. What would you do if you were in his shoes right now?
What would I do? I think they've got to make the tough decision, and that is, he's got a lot of players not playing good footy. Probably only three blokes actually having a go. You'd say Jamar, Clark. Their senior players are really, really struggling.
Sylvia.
Sylvia's coming back from an injury, so
Maloney.
He's got excuses. Maloney, but these guys that have been taken out of the leadership group, we don't know whether they've got a bee in their bonnet or what's happened there. But there's obviously something going on there. You can accept the side's not good enough to beat another side, but it was only a year and a half ago that everyone was picking this side to finish in the 8. So and they now have gone behind, which I've said now for probably 4 weeks. They are behind Greater Western Sydney and also the Gold Coast, and also Port Adelaide. So, they're in diabolical trouble. They have to make some tough decisions, and that is to drop some players, and not just for 1 week, but for a number of weeks, and then come back into that side with the right attitude, because, it's the effort more than anything that I think is lacking. It's got nothing to do with talent. It's got nothing to do with, it's got to do with effort.
They beat Adelaide by 80 points or 90 points this time last year.
Well, there you go, and look where the two are now. Adelaide probably into $8, I think now. Adelaide for the premiership,
steaming along.
They were $32. My old club got two old clubs. One of them sitting second on the ladder.
You weren't there for long.
Well, they're sitting second on the ladder. It's the last AFL club I played.
Jump ship. You're not going to jump ship, are you?
Not jumping ship. I just purely stated that they were my old footy club, and they're sitting second on the AFL ladder.
What would Dennis Pagan have done? Well, I know the answer to this, so it's a loaded question. But when you racked together, not that the Roos ever had 8 losses in a row, you probably had 3 maybe in your time. Dennis came up with some pretty novel training suggestions, didn't he?
We're lucky that under Dennis we didn't have too many lean periods. But if we lost 1 or 2 in a row, he used to take us to the pub and shout us a jug of beer between 40 blokes. So we got a sip each. So it was a real novel there. Or he'd take us to the movies or something like that. Look, it's past all that for them. There's no gimmicks, nothing Melbourne can do other than to, head down, bum up and, get your hands dirty and start to really commit to the footy and to one another. And that's what they're just not doing that at the moment.
Do you have many mates there or anyone you know within the club? I mean, what are the murmurings coming out of the club? Is players aren't buying in, as they say, to the coach's strategy, or
no? Look, I'm not hearing any murmurs. I think they're a club, obviously, under a great deal of pressure to perform, and this is when you find out. This is when you'll find out what sort of players you want at your club next year. Because let's be honest, this year's a write-off. Yeah. So they'll find out who will be at Melbourne next year in the next few weeks, really.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's lucky North Melbourne have a kind of Melbourne on the scene, and Brad Scott has a Mark Neild on the scene, because they were pretty lamentable really on the weekend, giving up a 32-point lead late in the game against Port Adelaide, weren't they? And you had a few things to say about that.
Look, they were deplorable. They didn't play good footy at all. They didn't play good footy at all in that last 11 minutes. They were fantastic until then, but that last 11 minutes, it just overshadows everything, because. They didn't have, and it's not Brad Scott, they didn't have the leadership on the ground to take charge of that situation. How do you lose a game from there? It's beyond me. Really, the leaders had to take control. They had to get more numbers behind the footy. They had to get their hands on the footy, and they just couldn't do that. Or they tried to do that, they just didn't do it properly. And I think too much has been left of a few too. At the Kangaroos. Brent Harvey, when he gets tagged hard, he struggles. When he struggles, when Daniel Wells struggles, and in those dying moments, the Port Adelaide Footy Club just had far too much space, and I just think that their reliance still on those players is just far too great. They are the younger side. They are very young. and they're a lot of inexperience. But
so, what is Andrew Swallow's job as captain?
They beat Geelong a few weeks ago,
Round 3,
and we were saying, okay, this is finally the Kangaroos are going to, they beat a top side.
Yeah.
Since then they've been ordinary.
But Gold Coast, it's the only team. Andrew Swallow, you mentioned the leadership, and he does lead by the front. He's sort of I think more of a Gavin Brown type, in that he leads by his actions rather than maybe his words. What can you do as captain when suddenly the momentum is building against you?
Well, you have to marshal the troops, so to speak. There's a lot of pointing the finger and saying get here and get there, and obviously, look, he hasn't put a foot wrong. I think he's been terrific in the way he's captained this side. But they go through they sit at the club for hours on end and have meetings on end, and when they know that they're in a situation like that, what to do. So I don't care whether you're 16, you're 21, you're 22. You've had 50 meetings. Get it right. It's not a puzzle. You know where to go. You know to go man on man. You know to get behind the ball. There are basic things that they go over and over, and they just couldn't get it right.
Let's talk about Josh Hunt on a completely different tack. We're very quick to kind of cast aspersions on players' courage, aren't we? And that has happened this week with Josh Hunt, who ducked his head playing against Collingwood at the weekend. I think Dane Swan swooped on the ball, and Collingwood might have scored a goal. I'm not sure, but much focus has been on Hunt's effort in that particular situation. Now, he's played 173 games. Is it unfair to focus on and make a big deal of such a small incident?
Look, Matthew Lloyd highlighted it on the Channel 9 footy show. We then discussed it on Triple M on Sunday. Look, I think in terms of Josh, and Josh would like to take those actions back, I think the one thing that everyone realises, the game's probably more courageous now than it's ever been. Players have got nowhere to hide, and it's because of that scrutiny, because of the amount of cameras, because of the amount of people discussing the game, that if you do something like that, it is going to be highlighted. Now, what I did say on Triple M, I've done it, Josh. I think just about every player in the competition has done it. We've all had moments that we'd like to take back, where we could have gone harder, but we didn't go as hard as what we would have liked. And there's been numerous, but I think... Could I just butt in there?
Were you picked up by the opposition at the time? Was it that obvious?
I think. Look, I can't remember that, Charlie, but I know it within myself. Everyone's had a moment where they haven't been proud of on the footy field, and I think that and the thing that Matthew brought up and it's been highlighted is Josh has been a repeat offender. He's done it a few times now, so I would expect him to really go away, and if he gets the opportunity again this week to come out and really put his body on the line and show everyone that he can keep his eye on the ball, and he is hard at it.
If you've got a sleeve of tattoos, you really need to be full bore at it, don't you?
Well, years ago, if you had tattoos on your arms, you were just tough without even trying. Now everyone's got it.
Exactly. Staging for frees, Leroy Jetta was cited and reprimanded for doing that at the weekend. Is that necessary? It's been going on for a while too, hasn't it?
Yeah, well look, it was highlighted I think a couple of years ago now. Nothing was done about it. I think it's a good thing. I think they should be reprimanded, they should be fined. Most footy players are a bit tight with their coin, so if you start fining them for doing that type of thing, they'll stop doing it sooner rather than later. And it is a bit of a blight on the game. We don't want to turn this game into soccer, what they do in soccer, and that's dive. It's not a good look.
Not as tight as Dennis, would they be?
Hey?
The players wouldn't be as tight as Dennis.
What are you saying?
You said he bought one jug for 40 players.
Oh, no, that was through the club. That was just him not wanting us to drink, Charlie, not about Dennis being tight.
See, I apologise, Dennis. Let's talk about two clubs that are flying at the moment, and we'll do it quickly. Richmond really should have beaten Essendon, shouldn't they? They had more inside 50s, many more actually.
Yeah, look, I didn't see the whole game. Look, Richmond were once again dour in defeat, but once again Essendon, when pressured, showed that they're a very good football team. Richmond have got a little bit to learn. They've got to learn that when they head aside, when they get to those opportunities, like they did against West Coast, like they did against Geelong, they're the games now that they have to start winning.
Can they knock off Hawthorn on Saturday?
Oh, look, if you're Hawthorn and you're a little bit below, if you go in there thinking this game's going to be easy, they will get upset. Yes, can they win? Yes, they can. Will they? I don't think so.
Okay. Finally, your second club, Wayne, Adelaide, absolutely flying. I must say I hadn't really realised how good they were until I saw them shake Carlton by the neck and throw them all around the place. They're very strong, aren't they? And
just a very, very good football team. They haven't got their superstars. Scott Thompson was fantastic. Obviously, Dangerfield was great again. But you've got guys like Sam Jacobs, who was absolutely terrific on the weekend. A bloke by the name of Jenkins, who's in his third game. He can really play. Got a footy brain. I was really impressed by him. They've found a player. But just all over the ground, they just have guys that know their roles. Like you said, they are strong. They're playing good team footy. They're confident at the moment. So all of those things combined, they're a tough side to beat. This is probably our version of State of Origin footy this week, everyone. We've got Collingwood v Adelaide, both travelling nicely. Collingwood have won 5 on the trot, I think it is. And you've got Adelaide, who's sitting second on the ladder. So this is an absolute ripper at Amy Stadium. Really looking forward to it.
And the last observation, which I'd like you to comment on, is the Crows during the 90s played a very sort of free-flowing brand of footy, and Dennis and North Melbourne, I think, were able to counter that quite well, apart from that one notable game in 1998. But this Crows team is playing a very hard, physical and direct brand, which is quite different.
Well, they're just very good around. They were very good around the stoppages on the weekend. They showed Carlton, who we think are very good in that area also. But they're just a good, honest team that are just doing everything right. The Bombers are in the same category. You look at the Bombers and you've got your Joe Watsons and these guys and Stanton's who's in great form, but they're just even all over the ground. It doesn't matter who comes in; they do the job. They're getting it done, and it's really good for the competition. And it shows you that you don't have to have teams of superstars. You just have to have a very good team. So Melbourne should take a leaf out of their book.
Yeah, good note to finish on. Wayne Carey, thank you so much for your insights, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Charlie. Cheers.